Jenny here from Jenni Wren Floristry Arts and Crafts, and welcome. Today we are going to do our wonderful Christmas table centerpiece. Put the Christmas carol jingles on, pop a silly hat on, and let's get started. Now, whether you've received a kit from me or whether you're just following this as a video tutorial, I would like to just go through what you're going to need. You're going to need a block of oasis. You're going to need a container of sorts, whether it's going to be for a flat one or a circular one. You're going to need obviously your greenery. You're going to need something to fix the oasis to your container, so either cable ties or elastic bands or even twine. Of course, you're going to need your scissors, secateurs, and then most importantly is your consideration of your candles, and I'll go a little bit more into detail on that. The first things first is we're going to attach our oasis to our container. We're going to use cable ties in this instance, but you can use a number of things. You can use elastic bands and you can use sellotape. Now with the elastic bands, what I would suggest is that you use 2 at a time, because it's really important that the oasis is very well attached, as I say, to the container. So I'd go double this way, and then I'd take another 2 and I'd go the double 2 that way. It will cut into the oasis slightly, but it's absolutely fine. Previous to this, I used cable ties. Again, very important to put it lengthways and crossways, and tighten it to a point of where it doesn't cut into the oasis too much, but it's very stable, because once you start arranging, we don't want the oasis to move. And of course, we're going to put a candle in here as well. So again, we want to make sure that we have a very strong base that can hold both the greenery and the candle. One thing that I have put on the notes, and of course if you're following this as a tutorial guide, you need to make sure that your oasis is completely saturated. A tip here is when you pop the oasis in water, it's not going to be immediate. It takes about 20 minutes to half an hour. Weight it down if you're in a hurry, and you'll notice all the bubbles will come to the top. If you want to hasten the process, just start poking a few holes in the oasis with either a thin wire, a needle, sharp end of a knife, and all the bubbles will continue to pop up to the surface. And of course, once the bubbles stop, you know it's fully saturated. So you're going to need to check that this oasis is secure. Hang it upside down, shake it around a bit. It really needs to be secure, because of course your candle is going to be placed in the center of it. Now your choice of candle is completely up to you. You've got your long dinner tapered candles, which I give with a kit. You've got your pillar candles, which are rather a bit heavier. You can even use one in a little glass container, wax, whatever takes your fancy. The most important thing is, as with the container, it's nice and firm. So your candle needs to be nice and firm as well. And how you're going to pop this in the middle of your arrangement is like so. But I will show you in closer detail just how I've done this. So what you need to do is you need to take your candle and you can take your toothpicks and secure it with a cable tie around the base of the candle. The one thing I will caution you here is that if you've got a really long dinner table candle, you might find that the toothpicks don't allow you much depth, and if you pop it in the arrangement like so, it might be a bit wobbly. All right, I don't particularly like that, especially if you're going to light it, and potentially it could be a fire hazard. So I've actually supplied you with some of the kebab sticks, which are obviously a lot longer and a lot thicker. So I would just cut them in half. Okay. You could of course cut them shorter once you've done it. But what you need to do then is you need to take your cable tie and you're just going to pop it around the base of your candle, and you're going to tighten it. Obviously not too tight because you still need to get the sticks underneath, but tight enough so it's not going to fall down. And then on the sharpened side, you're going to literally just score a little bit of wax away, and you're going to be able to push it under your candle. And 3 or 4 shall be absolutely fine. So again, just score it a little bit and then push it up slightly. Obviously you don't want it too high because you're going to not want to see it in the arrangement. So it's a balance of, you know, not being able to see it, and then also making sure that your candle's not going to fall over. So yeah, actually I think 3 will be fine in this instance. Okay, so I've pushed that up. Going to secure it really, really tight. And I think just for safety, I'm going to actually pop another cable tie on the bottom. So I'm going to secure it with 2 cable ties. That's really nice and firm now. I'm going to cut that off as well. And then of course, we're going to have to, you know, clip this off as well. Leave a decent length. And now just pop it in. Now that's really good. It's I'm going to actually just cut these elastics off because I don't need the extra on it. Okay, and then I'm just going to pop it over the T of that. That's perfect. Much, much more secure, and I'm happy with that. So now we can start the arranging. Going to sit down for this part. We come to the point now where we're going to start arranging, and the most important thing when you come to doing your tapered table arrangement is scale, okay? And I find when I teach this, it becomes quite difficult because if you don't get the lengths right in the first instance, you tend to just end up with a mess really. So I've designed a practical demonstration, and I've actually included 8 kebab sticks, okay? And we're going to run through it. I'm going to show exactly what I mean in terms of how we're going to get this design to look like something at the end of it. And once we've got our skeleton, which is the frame of the shape or the design that we want, then it's just a matter of filling it in. Now, of course, you've been given seasonal varieties, anything from yew to holly to berries, and of course it's going to fluctuate and vary through the season, but whatever I give you is going to be plentiful and you'll be able to finish the design or the arrangement, no problem. But we're going to start with these kebab sticks, and I'm just going to demonstrate to you exactly how the whole arrangement is going to come together. So we're going to take 2 kebab sticks and we're going to put 1 on either side of the arrangement, okay? So 1 goes on one side and 1 goes to the other. Now I'm going to pick it up for you and I'm going to show you. Now, if you notice, one thing is I never ever put anything in straight, okay? Never do that because it just doesn't look right. You can see it's going up into the atmosphere where this is going down. Now, always, and that goes with your greenery or anything you arrange, always put it at an angle. And for argument's sake, when we're popping this greenery in, look at the curve. It always has a natural curve. So if I was putting that one in first, I would never put it up because the arrangement would not be aesthetically pleasing. It would just start going up. So the first placement of your greenery, etc., needs to go in the correct direction and also in the correct way. So if I was going to use this piece, I would go like so, and then it would go down. But be that as it may, that's just to demonstrate, okay, how we're going to place our greenery. This is obviously going to be quite a big arrangement. However, if you have a smaller table, pop the candle in more into the oasis, okay? And then shorten your 2 kebab sticks either side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to shorten these sticks slightly, so the whole arrangement is going to come inside. So I'm just going to take off probably about 1 inch either side. Okay, and I'm going to pop one either side. One, remember, at an angle, and two. Right. I don't expect you to get a measuring ruler out here. You can do it by eye. It's up to you if you want to be that precise, but nature never is. But in order to get scale and balance, you need to have some idea of how long your 2 longest points are going to be. And this, as I said, is a visual demonstration of it. All right, now, what I'm going to do is take one of these. Now, if you haven't decided to cut the table arrangement down, then all you'll do is cut this in half. However, I have taken 1 inch off, haven't I? So take the stick out, cut this one down. In fact, cut all of the rest of the pieces to that length. Now things sticking all over the place. Right, so I've popped the longest one back in, okay? Now take one of them that you have cut and now just cut it in half. Again, you can eyeball it, okay? If you've got very squonky eyes, okay, measure it, but otherwise just eyeball it and then cut it in half. Now, this is going into your opposite corners. Remember, as I said, at an angle, pop it in one side and pop it in another. Now, if you're very handy and you've got a lazy Susan, some of you might have one for your dinner. It's really great because if you've got a lazy Susan, it's easy to move it around. And for this ease of reference, I'm going to use this lazy Susan here. Right, now, if you don't have a lazy Susan, you can actually get any container and pop it upside down and pop it on the top, and then you can maneuver it around. It's always easier to arrange when the subject is slightly higher. You can also use a pot plant. This one's quite a big one. Get the terracotta ones that are smaller. Yeah, anything you would like, and then again you can turn it around quite easily and get access to all of the sides of the arrangement. You should have 4 left, all right? You're going to have to place this in between the 4 points here. So you've got one on the corner, I would say, okay? 1, 2, 3, and 4. All right, and obviously the size of this kebab stick must be 3/4, approximately 3/4 of the 2 points here, the one on the furthest point and one opposite. All right, so what I'd like you to do is I would like you to cut 3/4 down. Maybe both just do one. And now what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to push it in, okay? So it's in between the furthest one here and the one over here. Now, you can keep playing with this until you're happy that it's in scale or in shape. So bearing in mind this is your shape, okay? So it comes from that point there and it's coming round to your halfway point here. So as long as that's in scale, from your furthest point, bringing it round. And then once you're happy with that, then you can just cut the other 3 to the same length. Right, let's put them in now. 1, yes, 2, yep, 3, and Now obviously we're not making an arrangement of sticks. What I'm trying to get to show and demonstrate to you is how you're going to maintain that shape. And then perhaps the little pieces that I've clipped off, what I'd like you to do is then just maybe put 1 or 2 in, just to see the height of your greenery. Okay, because you want to obviously cover where the candle is, and then now from there you get your height, and it's very, very easy to fill in the rest. Shall we try the greenery now? Right, let's start with the cypress. Now I will always give cypress because cypress is amazing. It lasts as well. It's really freely available, and it's got a good strong stem, so it's always good to start as the base. So if you would like to, you can take one of them out and you can cut the greenery, obviously leaving a little bit for being able to insert into the oasis itself. So we're going to just cut slightly more. And what I want you to do is I want you to take a little of the greenery out, okay? So you've got a nice clean stem and a nice sharp point because now you've cut it at an angle. So what I'd like you to do is to take your greenery and just place it where your stick is, and you can push it in. And it doesn't have to be absolutely exact, but it needs to be thereabouts, okay? And obviously you have your others, you still got your point there, so you need to cut it for the other side, and I'm very lucky. It's almost the right size. And we're just going to cut it. Remember, cut at an angle, right? And where the other, you can want to keep the stick in, you absolutely can. Or you can take it out, doesn't matter. And we're going to pop our greenery in, almost the point. So those are our first 2 points. Right, then we are going to take one of our short sticks out, okay? And if you've never seen it taught like this, well, this is the way I do it. As I said, I've done so many of these teaching. I've taught people in the class, and they end up literally just with a mountain of greenery with no definition. And this I find is just a practical way of how to do it. For those of you who are very, very sort of, specific in your measurements and you like things as scale balance, you might find this easier. But a lot of people, if they haven't had floristry experience, they find this really, really difficult. And this just gives a point of reference. Okay, so got my thing. I'm going to cut it just a little bit longer. Take the greenery off, and we're going to cut 2 pieces of this. There's the one, and let's, as I say, you can keep it in or you can just replace it. You can see there's the 1 piece there, and you can use this piece that I've removed and cut another piece on the other side. Take a little bit of the greenery off and pop it in place of the other one. So as I can say, you can leave the stick in at the moment. You can always pull that out at a later stage, okay? Now, so how many? We've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we're going to do our 4 points, all right? Again, we've got our lovely cypress here. And let's take 1 stick out and let's measure. That's 1. Okay. Let's replace that where it came from. Just remember, putting at an angle, nice clean stem, sort of at this, where the square is on the angle, going down. And you'll notice, shorter, slightly longer, longer. So we've got 1 there, and obviously you have to do 2, 3, and 4. Got this one here again. Let's measure it going down. This one's going to be quite a lot more fuller, so I've just taken some of it off. And let's just take that off. Don't be scared to cut it again if you feel that it's too long or too full. You can always just trim it slightly. This is just your base of your arrangement. That's it. And there that goes in. There you go. 1, 2. Right. As I say, you can keep it in or you can replace it. Just keep pushing it in until you're happy with it. If you need to trim it, trim it. Or if it's in keeping with the shape of it, and that's absolutely fine. And I've still got one to do that side. I keep on forgetting to measure because obviously I just do things by eye. But I know, as I said, it's quite difficult in the beginning to get scale. This will definitely help with that. For those of you who can do it by eye, please, you know, you're not going to need to do this, but just practically demonstrates how to maintain your shape with your arrangement. There you go, in there. Lovely. Now you can go in with your yew or another greenery and you can just fill in the gaps. This you can do by eye. This you don't need to do with. And remember what I said, always keep your ends free of greenery, and when you put it in, look at the shape and pop it in at an angle. So all I'm doing now is I'm just now starting to fill up the gaps. So I'll have a lovely full base, and I'll keep this greenery within the margins of the other greenery that I've already put in. I'm not going to make it longer. I'm going to keep in the shape. I think that's pretty straightforward, isn't it? So it's tempting to go a little bit wild here, but if you want that tapered shape, you have to keep within the margins. Like, you know, when you tell your kids to colour in, don't go outside the lines. You've got your shape now. Keep that in mind. Okay, so you can see here that I have put the greenery just here and it's falling in between that. So in here, this one here, I'm going to be putting it in between those, between the gap there as well. That's probably a little bit too hot. Remember, at an angle, going down. And what's lovely is the contrast of the greens here. We've got the beautiful, the bright green of the cypress and the slightly darker green of the yew. But obviously, as I said, that you know, throughout the season things change, so you can use whatever's available. But I would say that the first things that you use should be quite full so that they cover the base of the arrangement. There you go. And the last one here. Oh, that's so lovely. So the purpose of covering the base of your arrangement is that we don't have to keep going back afterwards. And if you find there's still one or two bits, then by all means just go back again, and just, as long as you keep within the boundaries of the shape, you're absolutely fine. Great stuff. Now if you want to and you're feeling brave, you can leave the two on the top. You can take out these sticks out now. Before you take them out, if it's not balanced, the arrangement is not balanced, you are still guided by the sticks, so you can take it out and recut it. But I'm quite happy with that. Super. Right. Now, we're going to go around the candle first, because remember, that's going to give us our height. And we're going to go back to the cypress. All right. Take one out. Okay. And you can measure it to cut. Remember, a little bit slightly bigger than what you need. and then just removing the greenery from the bottom. Okay, so now we're going to add 4 around the candle. So let me just show this a bit closer for you here. Okay, so when you place these in, remember what I said, we never do things absolutely straight, always at angle. We're going to do 4, all right? I'm going to push 1, and you'll notice the way it goes. And then we're going to get another one, again, pretty similar to the size of our, we can just pull this shorter if we need to. 2, this is going to go next to it or on the opposite corner. 2, and then I said 4, didn't I? 3, that's perfect. And then the other one. 4. Lovely. Now we'll go in with the U, and we'll do exactly the same in between them, using the same scale, within the same frame. 1, 2, yeah. Now what we can do is we can actually come down slightly, and this is really important because this is between your lowest point or your longest point and your highest point here. Needs to go, remember how we started with that arc going down? Do exactly the same in your mind's eye, and you can even use your finger. You can see your highest point and you're sort of going down, then this here needs to be between in those 2 points. Okay, so all I'm trying to demonstrate to you is scale, and constantly look at your arrangement, judge where you're putting things. I know it's tedious in the beginning, but until you can actually do it by eye, you're going to have to almost measure it. And then all you're going to do now is you're going to be filling in where there's gaps. In other words, where I can see the green and oasis, I need to cover. So in Floristry, you can use any of the bulkier green that's going to cover it, because we don't want to see the oasis. So we're just going to fill it in. So our focal points are going to be the feature rather than trying to fill up all the gaps with it. Okay. So I'll let you get on with that. I just don't need too much more. And you can see the benefit of having the Lazy Susan, but of course it's not necessary, but you do still need to turn the arrangement round on a regular basis. Now this is a point to really, I would say, impress upon you that if you light the candle throughout your dinner, it is going to burn down. And if your greenery is really high around your candle, it's more likely to catch fire earlier. So obviously, if it's dried material, I probably wouldn't light it. Okay, you might have a few cones further down, but around the center of the candle, you've got to keep it within reasonable distance to the candle that's burning. So I would please get one person that just keeps an eye on it, and I'd hate your dinner table to go up in flames. Right, I'm happy with the coverage of that there now, and I think what we can do is we can start going in with perhaps some holly. That's always lovely, isn't it? And because you've got the length here, you don't have to worry too much about that. It's now more that starting to fill in your focal points now. And as long as you just keep on colouring between the lines, okay? And this is lovely. You can actually start filling in right close to the candle as well now. Super. Okay. At this point, I can't really tell you put one here, put one there, put one everywhere. As long as you just follow the basic pattern and the basic structure. And if it's not exactly keeping within it, the shape, you can pull it out and you just can cut it shorter again. But if you just start trying to stuff it and try to fill it, it will go out of shape, and yeah, it will look more like a mound of flowers rather than a beautiful tapered arrangement. Now, if you notice here, sometimes as well, you can just get your scissors. If this comes up too much, you can just pop one of the leaves off. And I think also what's important is that I know they normally say rules of three, but in this, within a tapered arrangement, it's really sort of fours, or because remember you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, filling in one. So I would not be determined about the actual, you know, trying to keep it in threes. It really is because you've got a square, you've naturally got 4 corners. I would keep it more that in mind when you come to arranging. That also helps with the balance. Right, so I feel you can see I've done one bit of holly there, and then on the opposite side, on the opposite corner, I've done a bit of holly there. So you can play around with it. In other words, if you haven't used 4 bits of holly, you could use 2, but then opposite each other on each corner. And shall we do the same with the ivy then? Why don't we do that? This lovely ivy with this lovely berry. Let's go on the other corner. And these here, that's lovely. I've put one there. Now I'm going to put one on the opposite corner. Right, once we've got our structure now we can start having some fun. We can go, whew, it's kept its shape. It's actually looking like an arrangement. Now I've got the hang of it. And now we can start putting in some berries and some other more interesting foliage, different colours, etc. So let's have a look what I've got here. I've got some lovely, and at the moment the name escapes me, but I will put it in the description here. It will come back to me at the moment. And look how lovely this. So this has got a lovely flower, and it's also got lovely greenery. So I've got a bit of holly at either side, so I'm going to put one of these either side. That's a bit too tall, so I'm going to cut it and put it a bit lower. Lovely. I'm going to put one the opposite side as well. Quite close to the candle, because this particular instance, we don't really want to see the cable tie. So you can start putting it quite close to the candle now, just short little bits now, because remember we've got our shape. So all we're doing now is just putting this so we don't see the cable tie. There's also some lovely rosemary. Anything that you've got in your garden you can use. Anything that I've sent you in the kit you can use. You can use eucalyptus as well. Have fun now. start just popping them all the way through your arrangement so it's evenly dispersed. What I can tell you, it just smells beautiful. I will also say that you've got at least 2, if not 4 Christmases from this oasis, because this specific oasis I've already used once and I just pulled out the greenery. What you can do, florist tip, just turn it upside down and then use the other side. And when you haven't got too many holes, you can just use it again. It might take a little bit longer to take up the water because it dries out and it's not as good as soaking the water in, but it still works. I can't see my oasis anymore. It's lovely and full. I still got a stick of my kebab stick to show me the depth of the greenery, and I've taken that out now. Okay, so anything that I've given you, ivy berries, I've got some other red berries with it's hawthorn, or whatever I have, and then of course cones, all right, which we're going to have to wire. Even lovely ivy. Let's see if we can pop some ivy in. Of course your holly, you can't go wrong with holly, can you? Of course it's a bit prickly, goes without saying, to just take a little bit of care. Love the ivy berries, such fun. And to repeat myself, long as you keep within your framework. We did the skeleton and we fleshed it out, and now we're putting all the makeup on, so to speak, the lovely focal points and feature points. I would suggest that anything like your berries and your cones you do right at the end, okay? So I'm not quite ready to put them in, but nearly there. So I'll let you get on and have some fun now. I'm going to take these longer ones here. So relaxing now. It's really, I think that's one thing that really stands out to people who come to my classes and things, is that initially it's quite stressful because it's quite technical, certainly with you know, to get the shape right, but once you have got it, it's really quite therapeutic. And especially when you can see the arrangement come together, it's really rewarding. If you're lucky, then your holly might already have berries on and you won't need any extra. At the moment, it's so early in the season and there aren't any. Isn't that giving it a pop of colour? It doesn't matter now, once you've got your framework, you can, as long as it is within the lines, and I'm repeating myself ad nauseum, but just trying to impress on you that you can go back and do the lower if you've got some berries, as long as it's within that framework, it's absolutely fine. Just don't go outside the lines. Don't go outside the lines, that's all I say. And also, when you're cutting, you can cut, you know, sort of out, you know, you don't have to have perfect shape now, because I want to focus on the berries. As long as I sort of, you know, have more berry and the greenery, or just almost, that will submerge into the other greenery that we've already put as a base, and that I'll show you there. That will sort of go in there. So you can use the stem all the way down is what I'm saying. And here as well, I'm just going to take those bits off there, take any yellowing bits off. I'm going to use that piece as well. Right, I think I'm happy with the amount of greenery, with the berries that I have. I can't see the candle really. It's lovely and lush, etc. I'm happy with the shape. I think it's going to be the time where I'm going to put some ribbon in, and I'm also going to put some cones. So if you want to get your cones ready and the ribbon, I'm going to show you a super simple way of doing a ribbon, because out of all the videos, people always battle to do the ribbon. So I'm going to show you a really, really simple trick of how to do a ribbon. So I'll let you get on with that, and we'll come back to the arrangement and finish the bits off. We're going to add a little bit of ribbon now, and what I do love is that you can use any colour and match it to your colour scheme. There's a bit of satin, there's this lovely tartan ribbon, so whatever your colour scheme is, you can choose a ribbon that's going to match. And it's very simple. We're not going to bother with the loops and the bows. We're just going to have these little tails coming out of the arrangement. So I'm going to give it to the side now. I'm going to use 2, and we're just going to measure approximately how far we'd like these tails out of the arrangement. I'm going to cut it, and then obviously for the second one, measure it, cut it again, like so. Okay, now we can move the arrangement out the way. So obviously we've seen the length that we require, and we're going to take our wire, fold the ribbon in half, get the wire, thread it through the middle, pull it down. And now this is the important part. You really got to get really scrunched in the middle, and then you have to tighten it really tight there and twist it round. So I'm going to just show you there. That is how tight it is. And just all the way down. And then you can cut it off and do that to the other side. Leave a little bit of a length. Exactly the same the other side. If you want to, you can cut a length off the camera now that you know approximately how much of the wire you need. Fold it in 2, thread the wire through, scrunch it there, and then really tighten it up. And then you can just cut the one side off. It leaves a nice length here to pop in the arrangement. Now, you can leave it like that if you'd like, but I quite like the little tails. And just fold it here, and make sure your scissors are sharp, and cut up. Hey presto. Do that the other way. Now if you cut it in the wrong direction, instead of getting points, you get arrows. So make sure you cut it right. So I'll show you again. Fold it and let your scissors face up, because if you let the scissors, I can't even say scissors face down, you're going to get arrows. So always make sure you face them up, cut, and you have your lovely edges there. Okay, so we'll pop those in later. Let's go to the cones. Right, ever so simple. To the back, wrap around the base of the cone once or twice, twist again, and You only need one to poke it in, cut it short like that. There you go. And continue on. Now the orange slices. Now with the orange slices you can decide to do 1 or 2. I just like to do 2. Very simple again, just pierce the flesh of your oranges. Again, this is the most important part. Just twist at the base of it. And just bring it down. There you go. And there's one I did earlier. For the final flourish, shall we pop the last of the decorations in? And we'll start with the ribbons. Always got your scissors handy. Pop one on one side. You can just fluff it out a little bit. And I'll turn that one to camera. It's rather sweet, doesn't it? And then again, one on the opposite side. You can, of course, place these wherever you want. This is just a personal preference for me. I like it. That looks rather fun. And let's do the cones now. I'm going to place them on the opposite corners, one either side as well. Right, also got some more little baby cones that I'm going to be popping around too. This one here. Now, if you have a few baubles that you'd like to put in, by all means do exactly the same as you would with the oranges. You just can wire the base and pop them in. They can look rather fun. I'll do my oranges now. Cinnamon sticks you can also use as well. Goodness me, the list is endless, absolutely endless. You are only restricted by your imagination. The last other thing I will say as well is that if you're very lucky, you've got some lovely red cottonists as well. And I think because I've used those berries, I might just pop a few stems of this in just to add the finishing touches. And I think that will be Bob's your uncle. So just a short little note on how to care for your arrangement. It's important to keep the oasis damp. I would suggest you take your arrangement away over to the sink, fill it up with water, let it drain, and then replace it wherever you've had it displayed. I do also want to point out that this is, as I mentioned, a long and low tapered arrangement. If you wanted to do a round arrangement, I would suggest that you buy, I will put a little picture in the corner, a round oasis with a missing center, and then you can normally just put a pillar candle in the middle of it. You don't actually have to go and put the candle with sticks and stuff and place it in the oasis. It doesn't really warrant an actual tutorial because effectively you've already got the shape and all you're doing is putting greenery around it and that's pretty self-explanatory. So there you have the final arrangement. The placement of the cones, the oranges, is entirely a personal choice. Sometimes I quite like to make a feature of the cones and put 3 or 4 together equally with the orange slices. So this is where you can let your creativity shine. Remember, you can add whatever you like to the arrangement. Closer to Christmas, if you'd like to add some fresh flowers, they obviously won't last the whole period, but you can pop them in and then just take them out and replace them. You can also add any other dry material. I've got things like rose hip, and of course I've got teasels as well. So I think you can see what I'm saying is that once you have your base, you can then go mad and then really enjoy creating the final touches to your arrangement. I hope you enjoyed this experience. I hope you enjoyed the process, and I would just like to take this opportunity to wish you a very Merry Christmas and thank you for watching.